Welcome to Chapter 3. Okay, this chapter is talking about organic compounds. Organic means that it is carbon-based. All of the compounds that we'll be looking at, or the chemicals, elements, have carbon in it. And when we're looking at these molecules, they're very, very large, complex, and there are thousands of them. Large, complex molecules are called macromolecules. Organic means it has a carbon base. So we're going to be looking at 4 molecules in this lecture. Carbohydrates, which are sugars, lipids, which are fats, proteins, and nucleic acids, which are DNA, RNA, and ATP. So carbon is the main atom in all of these molecules we're going to be looking at. And carbon has the ability to have 4 covalent bonds because it has 4 openings. So it is very versatile when you compare it to other elements that don't have the ability to chain with other carbons or other elements. So with carbon as a central atom, here are some examples. Methane, CH4, that is the picture on the left, and that is natural gas. And it's very simple. They're all single covalent bonds, all the hydrogens attached to a central carbon. It's called a hydrocarbon. And then when you look at gasoline, on the right side, it has 8 carbon molecule, and that's where octane comes from. Now, not only can it form single covalent bonds, it can form double or triple covalent bonds. When it is a single covalent bond, it is a single line. A double covalent bond, it looks like an equal sign. And a triple covalent bond has 3 lines. Each line indicates a pair of electrons are being shared. So when you have 3, that means 3 pairs of electrons are being shared. So how do we form these large molecules? That's what we're going to be looking at right in the very beginning here. This is sort of common to all of the elements or chemicals that we're going to be looking at in this chapter, which are carbs, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. They all are based on smaller molecules that build on each other. So when we look at these, there's some terminology you need to get straight. Monomer, that is a single small molecule. Mono means one. Polymer means many linked together by covalent bonds. Glucose is a monomer. C6H12O6, that's glucose. It's a very simple sugar. It's the one that goes into our cells. But we do not eat monomers. We eat the macromolecules that need to be broken down. An example in the carbohydrate family is starch. Now, in order to make all these different molecules, you have carbon and hydrogen, but there are other elements that are attached, and they take the form of something called functional groups. There are groups of atoms, such as the OH that you see on this, that's called the hydroxyl group. And then you have COOH, which is a carboxyl group. Now you're going to see some pictures of this coming up, but those are groups that attach to the carbon-hydrogen backbone. So you have the carbon skeleton or backbone, and then you have these functional groups attached to the backbone. So to form these macromolecules, the monomers have to join together to become a polymer. You attach functional groups to this polymer, and it's all of these together that form the four major compounds that we're looking at. And you can see on the right side, there's the structural formula, which shows just the line or the equal signs. And then the ball and stick model, which you're going to be doing in class as a lab. And then the third column, fourth column, shows you where that functional group is found. Hydroxyls are found in carbohydrates. Carbonyl is found in lipids. Carboxyl in proteins, amino in proteins, and then the phosphate and DNA and ATP. These are pretty much the most common ones you're going to look at in this class. So how do we form these macromolecules? It's by a chemical reaction. Energy is required to do it. If you're sitting in a room, look at a door, and it's stationary. No energy is moving it. When it moves, energy is put into the system to change it. And that's what happens to these chemicals. You have the backbones, and you have to add energy in order to join them together. And that's what the left picture is showing. That you've got two right here. Here are the two, and then you have a single monomer. And what's going to happen is they're going to join together into a molecule with three monomers attached. You can see energy was put into the system in order to create this bond. And when they created this bond, you can see here's an H hydrogen atom, and here's an OH. What happens is, to form this bond, these elements were released, and they form water. When you are putting this together, it's called a dehydration synthesis. Water is being released. Dehydration. So that's forming the molecule. You also have to break down molecules. And this is what happens during digestion. When you eat the large molecules, these, and then you need to break them down. So here you have the three molecules together. We add water. Just think of your saliva and the juices in your stomach. There's water added to the system. In turn, energy is released and they separate. The term for this is called hydrolysis. And enzymes, which are proteins, are needed to complete this process. So this is just reviewing what we just went through. Condensation involves a dehydration synthesis. And that's because water is being removed, which is dehydration, and a bond is made. That's the synthesis part. Now, when you join two single units together, two monomers, a hydroxyl group is removed from one and a hydrogen is removed from the other, in turn producing the water that is released in this condensation reaction. So this picture is also showing you the condensation reaction or dehydration synthesis. Here are two monomers. And in order to form a bond between these two, as you see here, water has to be released and energy is put into the system. So organisms have to break down these macromolecules, as I said, during digestion. And that is what breaks the bonds between the individual monomers and it adds a molecule. It's the exact reverse of dehydration synthesis. This link that is here is a recommended link for you to visit. I'm not going to take you there right now.